Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your host, Chris Green, Director of Network Expansion for Avoya Travel. We certainly appreciate your time for tuning in, and we hope you hear something today that inspires you to want to learn more, because we're always excited to share the details about the Avoya Travel story, answer your questions, and provide information on why we're the #1 host agency in the industry. We've got a great show for you today because I always love showing off just how deep that top tier talent pool is at Avoya Travel. My coworkers, the fellow employees at Avoya Travel, and today I get to do just that one. Patrick Stuart, front end engineer for Avoya Travel, joins us. Patrick will share with you how his role has a positive impact on the Avoya network, and he'll also share some cool personal things, as Patrick has had quite the amazing life, and we can't wait to spotlight that. And our Meet the Team feature today, Patrick will be joining us here in just a moment. We'll also be touching base on our latest awards from our friends over at Host Agency Reviews, our ongoing military promotion, the always amazing Avoya Travel Academy. We'll touch base on best-in-class resources, again, that have those in the Avoya network doing such an amazing job. 2023, as we heard last week from Steve Hersham, record territory for Avoya Travel. January of 2024, record territory for Avoya Travel. So lots of amazing things. And it's, again, the resources that help make Avoya Travel stand out so much. We'll touch base on our social media channels and how they continue to grow, thanks to you, and wrap up with all the contact information so you can get the process started to affiliate your business with Avoya Travel. So let's kick it off, this week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. Today's topic for our exclusive Q&A is about Avoya technology and how that's such a cornerstone resource for us here. It's helped propel our growth in the past. It'll certainly be a major differentiator as we focus on the future. And it's not always the easiest topic to cover in a question and answer session, but we think we have the perfect person for the job today. Help me welcome in my featured Meet the Team guest, Patrick Stuart, Senior Front-End Engineer for Avoya Travel. Patrick, so great to have you on as our featured guest for On Deck with Avoya.
Chris, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Patrick, you've got such a fascinating background. Can you give us some of the highlights of your personal history and kind of what brought you to be your current role as the Senior Front-End Engineer for Avoya Travel?
Absolutely. Yeah. As you said, I've had somewhat of a unique past. I got the opportunity to write my first lines of code when I was 8 years old. I sold my first commercial application when I was 15 years old in high school. And I wrote my first website in 1995, actually for Purdue University, the School of Liberal Arts. And I actually graduated 2 years later from Purdue. So I've been doing web work since really before it was the web. Outside of graduating, I started at Xerox as a systems analyst for the printing industry. And kind of a funny story about the printing industry is it's just like web development. We take design and we turn it into code. At that time, it was PostScript and PDF. Today, it's JavaScript and HTML and CSS, but it's the same concept. It's taking design and implementing it. And that's what I really discovered. I had a passion for that. After Xerox, I left to start a marketing services company inside a large commercial printer. Ultimately, we absorbed into that printer and merged the businesses. And I successfully sold that business back in 2012. Briefly ran Art Instruction Schools, a sister company to that company that owned the printing company, and ran that, helped transition that from a correspondence education program to an online program. Had a team of engineers and developers that I worked with, but I was doing a lot of the work myself. I got the opportunity, somewhat forced, at age 40 to retire. That lasted for about a month due to a non-compete that put me on the sidelines. So, rather than sit back and rest, that's just not my milieu. I decided to start a consulting business, which ultimately led me to a great friend of mine who was in the tech startup world, was starting up a company called Habitat, which is the brains for a smart home. So I joined him, helped build that platform, did about 20 different jobs working in the startup world, exited that successfully after 2 years, and was looking for a job. And I had a great mentor who said, you do 20 things for me, but what's that one thing you love to do that you didn't even have to get paid to do? And the old analogy that says, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And since I've been writing code all my life, and I've been always writing it, but running businesses, doing other things, but I love to write code, I applied for a job that really was about writing code. I applied for three, got three interviews, got three offers, and the best was Avoya. And I've been here ever since.
Good for us, good for you, I think, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I guess it's safe to say you don't really fit the mold of what most people might imagine when they think of your typical computer engineer, especially, with your time at Purdue. And I know you have a bit of a theater background and some
Yeah.
things like that as well.
Well, I think a lot of people really don't know what engineers do. Fundamentally, they're problem solvers. And I've been an engineer all my life. What we do is we love to look at the complex and really make it understandable. I like to think of it kind of in the terms of like, a magician performing magic. When you know how the trick is done, there's no prestige to it. But that's what we do. We make what looks impossible happen. We take what can't be done and make it come to life. And that's the fun thing, is when we're challenged to do something that we don't know how to do or hasn't been done before. That's the exciting thing. And I think engineers have to have part of the brain that's the doing and the thinking and the critical processing, the deductive reasoning, but also there's an element of creativity to it. I've seen some of the greatest code that is simple, elegant, and executes. It's like looking at poetry.
I don't know if you were part of this, Patrick, but several years ago, as part of a national conference for Avoya Travel, they actually had a coding demonstration as the evening's entertainment. They watched the lines of code with Mike Anderson and his team. I think that
Yeah.
was when we were in at Rancho Bernardo there in San Diego. So yeah, there's a lot of art equals life, and life equals art, and of course everything that being an engineer kind of falls in the middle of that. So that's pretty cool way that you described it that way.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about your personal travel history. When in life did that start for you? And how does working in the travel industry help inspire that?
Well, I guess you could say my travel career started just after birth. I was adopted, so I immediately was traveled to another family, and thankfully, I was adopted into a family that loved to travel. So, as a young child, I've traveled all around the world. Growing up in Minnesota, in the winters, which is 6 months out of the year, you end up wanting to go anywhere warm, which is pretty much anywhere other than Minnesota. So we spent a lot of time in Florida, a lot of time in California, and a lot of parts in between. And so, yeah, I traveled a lot. I was very used to taking my spring breaks, summers, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We were always someplace other than home, it seemed like. So we were traveling as a family. And as I got into my professional career, I traveled for work many times. Did a lot of miles on the road, got to see a lot of amazing places around the world. And on a personal level, I love to travel. So it was one of the toughest things during COVID when we couldn't travel, and couldn't wait to get back out there to travel.
For sure. Patrick, kind of walk me through what your day-to-day looks like as your role as the senior front-end engineer for Avoya Travel, and how that has an impact on those that are part of the Avoya network.
Yeah. Thanks. It's my day is never the same. What we first focus on when I get started in the morning is, are there any problems, anything that we have to immediately solve and get out? And my role on the product team is much different than maybe IT. We don't oversee the servers and all of that type of stuff, but what we look at are things that we can solve. And so if there's anything pressing, we'll dive in and debug and try to figure out what was going on there. But that has gotten less and less since I've gotten here, because we've implemented more and more systems around quality and assurances. Look, nobody's perfect in writing code. Things will break and that type of stuff. But we've now built a great QA team that really helps us find those problems before they go out. The next phase of what I work on is some of the architectural and design things that are moving us forward for the future. So we continuously are innovating here at Avoya, and it's exciting to see some of the new technologies, things like AI and other elements that can help us, not only be more productive, but also embrace newer technology and new things. So I focus on, my primary focus for the last year has been our Avoya Connect application. That was an aged application. We just launched a new version of that a few months ago. And so we've built an iOS app, an Android app, also Windows and Mac app, all from the same code source. So what most companies would have 4, 5, 6 people doing all of this, what we were really able to figure out is I was able to put all of this stuff so that we can produce all of that without having all those extra resources. And we brought on a great designer here a while back that really gave us some amazing design to apply to that application. If you haven't seen it yet, it's an amazing application that helps us get leads, but now also get some of our customer communications going on there, and the notifications that are critical to our business to be able to get those in a timely manner.
In my role, Patrick, as the director of network expansion, we like to discuss, well, I say brag, but how Avoya Travel is very tech forward. When you hear that kind of a statement, tech forward, what do those words mean to you? And what are your thoughts on how important the technology piece is for Avoya Travel as a company?
Yeah, it's interesting because I come from the tech world. So when I look at that, I kind of go, well, I've been at tech startups, I've been at Fortune 500s, I've seen what is really cutting edge or bleeding edge technology, but it also comes at a price. So I think Avoya is a nice mix of great history, great fundamentals, great foundation, as well as trying to figure out how to layer technology and be not on that bleeding edge, but embrace the technology so that it doesn't get in the way. It kind of disappears and makes life a lot easier. That's at least the intent. And I've been at companies that don't embrace technology, and absolutely, Avoya is a technology forward company. But I also think that there can be some hurdles to implementing technology. You certainly don't want to embrace technology just for technology's sake. And I think Mike and Jeff Anderson do an amazing job of that balancing act between what's going to help move the needle forward versus just, oh, hey, this is the new cool little thing, let's jump on it. And that can be a big mistake that companies make, and I haven't seen Avoya do it.
That's a really great way to put that. As a follow-up, I would assume that when you do implement something or you're involved with it, and then you see that having great results in the long run for Avoya Travel and the Avoya network, that you take a strong sense of personal pride in how your work is having that positive impact. Would you say
for
that's
sure.
correct?
Yeah, I try to avoid that personal pride, but you can't help but, even when I was in the printing world, when you'd walk into a store, we did a lot of work with Target, and you see a sign that your team printed. I'm always amazed at, when you see something thought of, dreamt up, sketched on a piece of paper, a napkin in a restaurant, whatever it is, and then come to life from design to implementation. Again, it's like that magic act. It's that prestige. People are like, how did that happen? And it's like, it's because we know what we're doing. We've got a great team. We continue to expand it, and you can't help but feel a sense of pride in having that accomplished. But you can't rest too long on that. You got to focus on the next thing that comes out, because there's no shortage of things that we want to continue to improve here.
No, for sure, absolutely. Once you're the leader, you've got to really work hard in order to remain the leader in your space. So that makes sense.
For sure.
Patrick Stuart, senior front-end engineer, is our featured Meet the Team guest this week for a On Deck with Avoya. Patrick, can you give me some ideas on maybe some projects that you're working on for the near future that you hope ends up having an overall better results for Avoya Travel and the Avoya network? Any sneak peeks you might be able to offer us?
I could probably detail them all, but that would take days, because there's so much that we're working on. It's an exciting time here at Avoya, because first and foremost, our focus is on improving the end-to-end experience for everyone, right? We know that there are new travelers visiting our website. They're searching for travel, the content related to travel, generating leads, tracking lead success, managing the booking process, travel, and even follow-up. These are all of the areas that our product team focuses on. And there's just no shortage of projects that we're working on, and we got a great team that is working on all of these things, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see older technologies that Avoya was founded on continuously moving forward, trying to make the onboarding process for new people even better. Making a mobile first approach to things, because as we know, most people are now using their phones for everything, and then also embracing the new technologies that are out there, and AI to try to make things a lot better.
Yeah, Avoya Travel does a great job of kind of focusing on those areas where old-fashioned service kind of, in my opinion, meets at the highest level with new technology that are going to help kind of propel the future. And it's the best of the best in my opinion.
Yeah. And there's always challenges, when the industry changes, we have to adapt with it. And I think Avoya has been on the forefront of adapting to that change, or maybe even making those changes before the industry requires it. And I think that's, I think when you're out there in front of leading that and being able to interface with our vendors, with our clients, with our customers, all of those interfaces are critical to the business, and it's the tremendous focus on our front end, on our product team, to be able to make sure that we're doing the best we can to continue to improve those interfaces. A lot of companies still work in that terminal mode, that VT100, that screen of just data dump. We're trying to present that data in a useful way and try to simplify a lot of the day-to-day processes for our clients.
Absolutely. What about when you get a chance to step away from the office? Because you obviously appear to have an endless sense of energy. What kind of things does Patrick like to do for fun?
Well, I love to play tennis. I'm also a coach for our local high school here at Poway. So we just had tryouts this week, and our season starts up in 2 weeks. So I play a lot of tennis. I'm very active in our church with my wife, who's a worship director, and we're amazingly busy with our church. My wife and I are also executive directors for a charity called Hilltop Light. We're focusing on, trying to stop the sex trafficking world in Africa and India. It's a charity that's been around for over 40 years. Her mom started it, and so we're helping do that, and we're even taking a mission trip to Africa this summer to try to raise money and have a big impact over there.
So I'm curious about your background in stand-up comedy, because we both overlap with one of the funniest people I ever had a chance to meet, Louis Anderson. Mine from the radio world when I was in Las Vegas, and you out there doing some stand-up comedy. I'm curious about that, Patrick.
Yeah, it's a funny story. I started doing stand-up comedy in 2010. My mom had passed away in 2007, and my dad looked at me and he said, you're working nonstop. I was a workaholic. He said, you need to take time out and do something that, you're passionate about it. And I had done a lot of theater in high school and college. And, he said, go do a play. And I was like, I don't have time to do a play. And he goes, well, figure out something. And I heard a guy by the name of Scott Hansen, who had kind of made the world of stand-up comedy in Minneapolis. He was doing a comedy training program, and it happened to be really in my backyard. And so I signed up for it. Little did I know this was really meant to only be for established stand-up comics. So I was the only one who'd never done stand-up. And there's about 30 of us in the class. And it was a lot of fun to learn stand-up. They allowed me to be in there. And Scott introduced me to Louis Anderson. And from the showcase to 7 years later, I did over 350 shows, a lot for charity, a lot for corporate events. I donated all the money that I made to charity on behalf of my mom. But I got to work with Louis Anderson. I toured with him many times. I probably did 100 shows with Louis. He's an amazing guy. Hate to see him pass away 2 years ago. Got to work with him through his Emmy with Baskets, and going from a couple hundred people in northern Minnesota to now 4,000 or 5,000 people and throughout the country. We did an amazing show in Chicago. That was probably my biggest show, about 5,000 people at a big show. So it was a lot of fun. I got to work with a guy by the name of Jim Wiggins, who was an amazing guy, Kevin Meaney, so many other great comics that would come through Minneapolis, or as I toured around, got a chance to work with them.
Pretty fun stuff. What about special trips that you've been lucky enough to take since you've been part of the Avoya Travel organization? Anything that really stands out for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is I just recently got remarried, and so my wife and I were able to take a honeymoon to Costa Rica and got to do some amazing things out there in Costa Rica, and so we were doing class 4 whitewater rafting, horseback riding, just everything. My wife loves adventure, and so I'm more of the relax, lay on a beach and chill out. But it was raining, so we made the most of it and had a lot of fun doing all these activities and seeing all parts of Costa Rica. That was amazing. It was lifetime memories.
Yeah, the Costa Rica, pretty amazing place, no doubt about it. Patrick, before we start to wrap up our discussion today, are there any things about your role or projects that maybe we just haven't covered yet that you think we should discuss?
Not really. I think it's the one thing I'll say is I'm absolutely amazed at how great the family atmosphere of Avoya is. It's a big company, but you get to know so many amazing people. Everybody has a great story. What I will say is we have an amazing team. We're continuing to build on our amazing team. We just hired a young guy as part of our team, and another senior front end engineer. Alex comes from a great background. It's just the fact that we're able to recruit people in this industry. It is a highly competitive industry, and it's a sign that we're able to attract top talent, even given how competitive it is. And it's a great testament to the investment that Avoya continues to make in the people, the process, and the technology that drive a business. So it's a great place to work.
It certainly is, no doubt about that. All right, Patrick, I'm going to hit you with the big final question then. We've been asking all of our guests this for the past 3+ years. So you join a long list of people that have answered this exact question already. But given your knowledge and your time in the travel industry, are you excited? And why would you say that about the future of leisure travel?
Boy, am I excited about the future of leisure travel. Absolutely, because anytime we get to travel, it's exciting, right? We can always talk about the trips we've taken, but really it's about the trips yet to be taken. And technology just continues to rapidly change how we travel. I'm excited to look at things on how AI is going to change things, how VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, things like Meta Quest and Apple Vision Pro, how these are going to change how we experience travel. One of, I think, the most difficult things for me is how to decide where to travel, where to go next. It's always easy to go back to places you've been to, but when you want to go experience something else, that's the great thing about experiencing that is through the lens of using a travel agent. And so having a travel agent that's been there, that knows it, they're a great guide from that. And I think the ability to then also take those memories, we all have memories, but when we can view them and see them in 3D, they say a picture says 1,000 words, but what does 3D video actually do? As we see these technologies continue to emerge, you can start to see that it's like, oh, I know exactly what it is. And we know that, when we look at photographs of certain places, they don't always represent the truth of what's there, right? We can frame it very quickly inside of a nice, 4x3 photo. But when you can actually move your head around and see everything around there, you can't hide a lot of stuff. And I think that's one of those things where it's going to change how we perceive where we want to go and what value really is. And so I think it's also going to be a game changer in finding, the best deals, to be able to search effectively for that. But also, as we've seen other things like social media bring the world closer, it's going to be allowing us to get out there and virtually travel and be able to even potentially create opportunities to monetize your own travel so that somebody else can experience what you experienced without actually having to travel. And so for those that can't even afford to travel, they can still get out and see the world. And so I think it's the future is very bright for leisure travel. It's one that, there's so many great opportunities to get out there, to still do it very cost effectively. The cruises are probably one of the best values for travel out there. And I haven't done a whole lot of cruises in my life until I got to Avoya, and now I'm excited to continue to try to find as many cruises as I can get myself onto.
Very well said. Absolutely. I concur. Patrick Stuart, everyone, senior front end engineer for Avoya Travel. Patrick, thank you for your time and again for that fantastic discussion today. Next week, we're going to spotlight the upcoming Las Vegas Travel Agent Forum. Hard to believe, just a little over a month away. Jim Cloonan's going to be our special guest, the president and CEO of Trade Show Marketing Group. They put on the Las Vegas Travel Agent Forum. We look forward to our yearly chat with Jim coming up next Thursday here at On Deck with Avoya. We also want to take a second and just brag for a little bit because we picked up some more awards from our friends at Host Agency Reviews. Their Constellation Award, the Nebula Award, the Supernova Award. Certainly proud of that. And a reminder, I participated in their Host Week special. You can find that on our social media channels. And in there, embedded is the Host Week special price. So still got a couple of weeks that's active until the end of the month. So don't miss out. Great opportunity through the Travel Agent Education Program and the Avoya Travel Academy. So we'll touch base on that here in just a minute as well. But again, check that out. Host Week special there through our friends at Host Agency Reviews. Our ongoing military promotion continues, and we're very proud of that association. Had a couple of new files we put forward today that are part of the military, both for veterans and their spouses, active duty or retired, taking $100 off any curriculum package for the travel agent in Avoya Travel Academy, taking the travel agent education powered by Avoya platform education modules. Ready to dive in? $100 off the affiliation fee as well here at Avoya Travel. Speaking of the Avoya Travel Academy, boy, continues just to do amazing things, and the wave season sale still on. 50% off all the packages, start as low as $372. But as I say every week, think pro like a pro would. Award-winning education, 35 to 40 hours of online self-paced lessons to get through that program. It's an amazing value. Again, details at avoyanetwork.com. And that leads you into the network where, again, you take advantage of all the things that we talk about. Our live leads, the amazing technology piece, our agent power technology, the turnkey marketing assets in the Avoya Marketing Resource Center, all the things that help propel our network to being #1 in the industry. Again, all the details at avoyanetwork.com. You can give us a like and a follow and make the bell ring and all that cool stuff, which with all of our social media channels. Now on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Find our past episodes of On Deck with Avoya there as well. Certainly appreciate all your great support. Or you can just give me a call or send me an email. My information right there on the screen, chris.green@avoyatravel.com. And I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you. And again, avoyanetwork.com has a wealth of information both on the Avoya Travel Academy, on affiliation with Avoya, depending on what your experience level is. Again, my team more than happy to get you qualified. Any way they can assist, they're happy to do that. Big thanks again to Patrick Stuart for that great discussion today. Thanks to Annabella for producing our segment. Thank you for being part of On Deck with Avoya. Until next Thursday, take care, everyone.